Let's see, is that better? Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what that noise was. I deleted that video and we're just going to start again. So, does that sound better? Can you hear? No, it's still doing it. My gosh. What is wrong? I'm so confused. Oh wait, was that the old one? Is it working now? Oh, it is. I think we're fine. Oh my gosh! All right. Perfect. I think we're good. Anyways, hi again. I'm Diane. And this is Hello Monday with Boho Stamper. Get up here so I can see. I had cleaned my craft room a little bit here, and that's always dangerous. So now my camera's set up a little different, and I want to make sure that you can see. There we go. And it's not blurry, and everything looks good for you. Now that the sound is working. So let me see. I guess first I'll show you the card that we're going to start with today. We're going to do Easter cards, and we're going to start today with Mother Goose and her little ducklings following behind her. And then I have another one. We had talked last week about using the little lamb, and I didn't know if I was going to try to get Springtime Joy or if I was just going to use my little lamb out of my old Welcome Easter. And I ended up using the bunny, so when I demo today, I will use the little lamb. And I was just cutting out some more flowers here before we got started because I do like how they have the little wreath of flowers on the new lamb's hair. So we're going to give her some posies in her hair. This was out of the mini catalog. If you have this set, or if you still want it, you can get it. I do not have Gift of Hope, but I do think I want to try to get that this year. The retirement list comes out on the 24th, I think it is. And so that's only a couple days away. I'm kind of hoping this is in the retirement list because then I can get it a little bit cheaper since I'm not going to really probably get to use it for this year. We'll also have the new catalog available to demonstrators on the 24th. And so I'm so anxious to see what our new colors are going to be this year. And as demonstrators, we'll be able to start pre-ordering on the 1st. So depending on how long it takes for my order to get here, then I can try to get some cards made up with new stamp sets and have those ready for you. So when you get your catalog, you might be able to have some things already on your wish list. So for Mother Goose, I have a couple different stages of the card here because for anybody who has maybe watched before, you might already be familiar with ink blending on using the blending brushes. But what we did for this card was stamp Mother Goose, and then I masked her off, and then I blended over. So I'm going to get that far today and show how we do the masking. And then I won't torture you with all of the blending, but I'll give you a quick little overview in case somebody wants to follow along with that. So I stamped Mother Goose and her ducklings in Memento black ink. Let me get my piercing pad out here because I don't really want to mess her up. This is the one I told you I had started to do cards with last year, and I nicked my finger, made a mess all over my card, and I put her away and never did go back and finish it. So I was determined this year to use Mother Goose. Okay, let's start off by tapping some Memento black ink onto, I just re-inked these on Saturday. So everybody should come out nice and clear. I think I put her up a little higher, and then I put the ducklings down a little bit closer to the bottom, so that they might look like they were following her. Grab my chamois here, which looks filthy, but really it's clean. I did just clean it. I have to get a new one out again. I don't know why though. This one works. So those are our chamois. I thought I had to clean it. Oh, I think I put it in the bag to use maybe a couple of them as gifts. Our little chamois cleaner. You just wet it. I cut mine into thirds and put it into a plastic container so that I can grab a little one and wipe my stamps off, or for bigger stamps, I can just reach right in my little plastic tub there and clean my stamps off in there. Okay. So now that we have the little images stamped onto our card, and this is just a piece of white, and I have these cut. Now that I'm thinking about it, I hope I have them close enough. I just have a bunch of 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. Oh, good. Inch white panels cut to get started on, and then I used my stitched rectangle die to cut my little stamped image out and put it on my card here when we're all done. So in order to get our blue sky and the green grass and not get those colors onto our stamped images, I made masks. And all my masks are the same stamped images. And if you have masking paper, that's great. I don't. So what I do is I use some of my Tombow liquid multi-glue, and I put it on the back of my stamped images and then set them off to the side to dry. And that leaves them with a little bit of a tacky background. This one's actually a little sticky. You have to be careful when I go to take that off. So I did cut all these little guys out by hand. And then when I, excuse me, when I started a couple other cards, I thought this was going to take me forever to sit and cut all the characters out. So I just stamped a whole bunch and then used my scan and cut and let them all get cut on the machine. And that took about, I'll tell you, that only took about 8 minutes to cut out all of my little characters here, whereas cutting them out by hand would have taken me all afternoon. Okay, so then once we have these little guys masked off so they're not going to get all blue and green, I used some Granny Apple Green for the grass and some Balmy Blue for the sky. And my grass, I used a stencil for my grass. If you don't have a stencil or you want to make one, you can just use a piece of acetate or plastic and make some snips into your plastic and cut your own stencil out. Or you can just use your ink and your brush like we've done on cards in the past and just make a little green hilly border along the bottom. You don't have to have a stencil. And I was looking for, I'm afraid if I put this on paper it's going to get all blurry for you. Let's see. It might be okay. I keep gray cardboard on there so that it allows the camera to pick up the images better. So we need some green ink. And you kind of have to think about your stencil for a minute, because normally you just grab your stencil and put it on. Well, then that's going to make all of our little grassy peaks pointing down. So actually, our grassy stencil, it kind of looks like it's upside down when you're doing it. But it's a little sticky. I was practicing too this morning with this, and I used embossing paste. I want to see if my little grass, if I use embossing paste, if I can color the paste. These are blending brushes, and you can get them from Stampin' Up. They make a very beautiful, soft, I'm going to do 2 layers here. A really very pretty soft blend. You know what I think I'm going to do is flip it over and make my hillside, my hills go the other way so that it doesn't look too patterny. I guess they are the same. All right, we'll just move you over. Make a little bit more back here, not quite as dark. And a little more over here by Mother Goose. I don't want the duckies looking like they're walking on a cloud, so I'm adding a little bit more behind. And this was the one that I did in embossing. It's actually shimmer embossing. I hope I don't ruin my brush when I do this. I'm going to try. Oh. So I did the same thing, but I used embossing paste, which I think, oh no, I didn't. This was shimmery white embossing paste. I have silver too, but I think the silver might be retired. I know the white is still available. Oh, that's pretty. I didn't know if it was going to be dry in time for this morning's demo or not, because I just did that this morning. And then I can trim this down as well. Oh, I like that. I'm going to do some more of those. All right. Maybe we'll use that one on one of our cards here. Clean that off. Make sure I don't have any paste on my brush. All right, let's give our little ducklings some sky in the background. I guess I shouldn't be playing around. I should be getting this done so I could get the masks off on my blue brush. And I don't want the sky in the background to be too dark. I just want it to look like there is a sky. So I'm starting off my paper and blending the ink on here very lightly using a light hand. Embossing paste now. And you can see Mother Goose and the little ducklings getting all blue now, and that's why we have the mask over this. And when we take this off, those images are still going to be white. And then I'm going to use some blends today. And it's very quick coloring. Oh, where'd I get red? I think that's going to be enough sky. In my I have that embossing paste all over now. Put that over there to clean and take my masks off. Carefully remove them so you don't tear your card panel. And then I keep my mask and I just use it on the next card, and I'll use them until they're either so saturated with ink that they're ripping, or if they start to fall apart. And there's our little Mother Goose and her babies. Okay, I have another one here that I did start to color, and then I stopped. I was going to have all the coloring done, but I don't know that we've worked so much with blends, so I wanted to share a couple tricks with that. Excuse me. I did start out doing their beaks and their little webbed feet, and I used Mango Melody. I used light and then just gave a little bit of shading with the dark Mango Melody. And Stampin' Blends are alcohol-based markers, and you might be familiar with a couple other brands, Copic, or I actually have, I'll tell you my story about my Spectrum Noir markers. I have a handful of them left, and I'm hoping when our new ink colors come out, one color that I think that Stampin' Up is missing out on is a lighter gray. So I'm really hoping that they come out with a light gray this year. We'll see. They're actually giving some hints in some little videos to help you kind of guess what the colors are going to be. And I'm writing down my guesses, so I'll see where we go. But when you want to leave an image appear white, like I want Mother Goose to stay white, if I don't put any color on there at all, it's going to kind of look like I forgot to color her in. If we use a little bit of just a pale gray, it'll give her a little bit of shading and make the white seem whiter. And then it looks a little bit more intentional, like, oh, she forgot to color the goose in. So I'm just using this light gray, and this is one of my old Spectrum Noir markers. And then to lighten that up and blend it into the white, I'm going to use our color lifter, which really doesn't lift the color so much as it blends it in or pushes the ink around. And I'm going to just go over my edges of the gray, and it's going to take away any of the lines that were left there from the marker, blending it out into the white. And you can add more of the gray, but then she appears to be white, and she has a little bit of shadow. You can, or a little shading, I'm sorry, you can add a little bit more even after you've blended that out. Give her tail feathers and stuff here a little bit more dimension. And then you can go over it again if you like. Just continue your blending until you're happy with the results. And then for my little ducklings, I didn't want them to be yellow, but I didn't want them to be white. So I just used a little bit of the light So Saffron, and I did the same thing. I just gave them a little bit of shading here under the wings and around their little tail feathers, their neck, which I almost forgot the first time when I did this. And then I'm going to do the same thing and use my color lifter and blend those in. Put that one on there tight. And I don't want that one to fade. I like my So Saffron. Your blends have 2 points, 2 tips. One is a brush end and one is a bullet tip. So for these guys, because they're so little, I'm just using the bullet tip part of this and lightening up the edges of the So Saffron so that it blends right into the white. And that way they don't look so white. I want to give that a little bit more color there. And I didn't do their little beak, which I'm going to do with Light Mango Melody. If you're doing a larger area, you may choose to use the brush tip. I'll show you that. This is the brush end, and I like the brush end. A lot of people don't, but I like how it blends the colors in. So that was light, and this is the dark. Which obviously is getting a little dry. I've used it a bit. And then I would go back over with my light again if I needed to and blend them in a little bit more. And then you can go from a darker medium to a light. Okay, let's just fill in their clothes, and these guys will be ready to add to a card. I'm coloring in with my Hope Light. This is Light Mint Macaron, and I'm going to do her bonnet. And, oh, I didn't add any color to that wing. Any of the wings. And then I'm just going to use my dark these are such small images to show you on. But I'm afraid you don't really get the full effect of them unless you're used to alcohol pens, maybe. Some of that in a little bit. Okay. And we'll give him a little bit of blue. Whoops. And I should know that because the wide mark on the pen tells you this is the wide tip, and the narrow line on the pen tells you this is the bullet tip. So I just usually color my images in with my lightest color. And then I go back with my dark and add my darks where I want it to be. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. They have some white collars on their outfits, and I have a white gel pen that, oops, still there, but, I'm going to go back with my white gel pen and brighten that white up a little bit on each one of them when I'm finished. So I'm just adding a little bit of the dark where I think I might need that. And, oh, that's for my bunny's ears. And then I use some Flirty Flamingo on a little baby duck back here. And my Mother Goose's cape and bonnet. And I did the same thing. I just colored in with light Flirty Flamingo. Actually, I could use the brush part on this since I'm going to do a whole cape. Yeah, I got my craft room all straightened around here. I was working with my setup. I finally was able to get set up to do my first YouTube live. I was so excited because I want to have my camera set that I can use it for either Facebook or YouTube and not have to switch stuff around. So I was finally able to get my 15-minute card on a Friday video set up on YouTube. And I was afraid this morning when I went to do this that the camera was going to come up and say that it wasn't available again, because that's usually what happens. Then I'm just going to go in circles and blend the darker color out a little bit, and you can see how it makes those harsh lines disappear. Get rid of all these pens now. And find my little white gel pen that I had. And I use it. We had our mystery card party on Saturday with Anne, my upline manager, and where did my poor pen go? I'm gonna add some down. Oh, good Lord. Silver. I just had it out here. I thought I took it out with all the blends. Oh, there it is off to the side. Good grief. So let me just brighten up their collars a little bit. And I can stamp my greeting onto here. I think I'm going to cut my rectangle out first, and then we'll add the greeting. So it's going to fit in. I think it might just make it. And because I don't want to mess up my part that I've already colored in, I am going to tape my stitched rectangle die in place with just some glue tape, which is over on my big boss, big die cutting and embossing machine. Yeah, so I had a very crafty weekend for me. Usually my crafty weekends consist of working on my cards, but like I said, we had our mystery card party on Saturday. And I'll show you. This was our card that we designed. Anne sends us out the dimensions of the papers that we need. And she tells you if you have to use cardstock or DSP. And then we all get together and she gives the instructions on how to put the card together. And then everybody shows their card at the end. And it's really fun to see how different everybody's cards come out. They're all gorgeous. I love them. And I like doing it. I just like to see how different they all come out. So let me see if this will fit on our mini. It might not. I don't think it will. All right, let me grab my big boss here. I had this one sitting out so I could do those little flowers this morning. And we usually keep this one on this side of my work table because it does take up a little more room. So then yesterday, ooh, boy, you're not going to see anything, are you? Let's see, if I put it over here, you might see what they look like when I come out that end. Yesterday I had a mixed media workshop that I went to at a neighboring shop. They offer different crafty workshops throughout the year. And I think it had to be one of my favorite workshops I've ever done. The ladies there are just so helpful and nice. And they have a lot of different products that you have at your disposal. So, that blue tape is pretty dangerous too. That's why I didn't want to get any on my inked side. I don't want it to rip my paper. Alright, and come on, Mother Goose. I had some, excuse me, some pretty gingham paper left. So I'm going to add a backdrop of gingham. And my card base is an 8.5 by 11 cut in half and then scored in half again to make a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And I'm using Flirty Flamingo as my card base. I'm going to use up some of my I think I've shown you this trick too, when you get to the end of your foam dimensionals, not to throw the borders away because they're still sticky too. And you can use them, and especially on something like this where I'm going to pop up the whole panel. Great for outlining the edges. I have to, I was saying about being crafty. I have an acrylic painting I started after Christmas that I have not finished yet. And I really want to get it done just to say it's done. And I have a little, our one local art center does a fundraiser every year where you can create a mini masterpiece. So for $5 for your entry fee, you pick any famous painting that you like and recreate it. The only thing is you're doing your recreation on a 3x3 canvas. So I had to plug my computer in there. I had my artist and my picture decided on, and I finally drew that. Ooh, I forgot to stamp my greeting on here because I'm talking away. I certainly don't want to mess that up once I get it on my card. So anyways, I need to get started on that. I have my picture sketched, but I do need to start painting. And for this greeting, somewhere I had Timeless Tulips, one of my favorite greetings. Oh, I had out so many stamp sets over the weekend. There you are. And I think I'm going to do that in Flirty Flamingo so that it will match my background. Ooh, I really hope this is going to work with the dimensionals under it. Say a little prayer here. I should have stamped that before I need to get some re-inker for my Flirty Flamingo, or invest in a new one. This is the old ink pad anyway. I'd probably be better off just getting a new pad. Alright, everybody's fingers crossed. Oh, darn it, that's what I was afraid was going to happen. Well, luckily, I just found these this morning, but I think I'll do it on Flirty Flamingo paper. I have some that I had embossed on from last year. Let's see what colors I had. I think it's going to have to be the orange to put it together. I really messed up there. I should have done that before I put my foam dimensionals on the back. That was just silly. And I'll just use my stitched rectangles and cut that greeting out of there since I have those out. I'll put it on the other side to get it out of our way. So next week will be the Monday after Palm Sunday. And I don't know if we want to continue with Easter cards. Unfortunately, just like I did with my Christmas cards, when I'm going through them, there's so many there that I didn't use. I have I have pieces cut out here for us that I wanted to do a couple different cards with, and I just don't know that we're going to have time. So maybe I'll do more Easter cards next week too. I was pretty lucky to find those embossed greetings this morning. I was just thinking, oh good, I can use those. I have my family Easter cards that aren't done yet. And you know what I think? So that it doesn't look like I messed up and did that by accident. We'll just take I don't have any more flamingo cut. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Let's see if this is going to take up too much room. I think that'll be fine. Good. Let me run this through. I'm just going to do it on the other side so I don't shake the table all over. Sorry about that. Sometimes I just get too much stuff out here at one time. Oh, now my room's not even going to look like I cleaned it. That's going to work. And I'm still out of Stampin' Seal Plus. I have to put my order in. Like I said, our retirement list is coming out on the 24th, so I was kind of holding off. I know I'm going to put an order in on that day. I thought I could order all of my supplies that I need here as well. And at the same time, I'll have new shopping code to share with you also. And I'll share the retirement list on my Oho Stamper webpage. So if there's something maybe that you've been kind of considering getting and you hadn't done it, maybe it'll be on the retiring list. And I had a few of these little flowers left from I don't even know what. And I just added some of them to our little grassy area. I think some of these were from Paper Pumpkin, and some of them just from one of our annual catalogs. I think it was a holiday catalog from a few years back. And then I do think when Anne sent me a little goodie bag one time, she had included some of these, and I was thrilled because, you know, I like enamel dots. I love enamel dots. But I knew that I had some of these flowers, so I was really happy when she sent me some more because I knew I'd have enough to do a couple different cards. So there is our Mother Goose and her little babies. Happy Easter, happy spring, happy, happy everything. So if you have time to hang out with me, I'm going to do a second card here. I know that this is going a little over, but since my audio was messed up there this morning for some reason, I got started a little bit later. And the next card doesn't have quite as much coloring. Our next card was a little Peter Rabbit, but this is the one that I'm going to switch up now and do our little lamb. And so I used, you can use any green paper that you have. I used, I found a piece of green vellum, and I just cut some spiky ends into it to make some grass here. And then I'm going to use my Granny Apple Green. Those blends are noisy. And before I lay my grass down, I want to put a little bit of a background on my card panel. I have so much out right now. This is actually a 3-card week for me. We have Christmas in the Making will be on the 25th. And I've been trying to do some Christmas cards so that we have a jump on the holiday. So we have that on the 25th, and I just add a little bit of green background here so that when I put my spiky grass on the front of it, it doesn't have too much of a white background. And then I'll do the same and add a little bit of blue for my sky. So that it will have some coloring in the background. And this one I didn't have to mask my character off because I have him cut out, and we'll add that to the top. So I had Hello Monday, Christmas in the Making, and 15-Minute Friday. And let me see, I think I did the same thing with him. So if you don't mind, I'll run around the other side and cut this rectangle out again. So now I will add my grass. And because this is vellum, I have to be careful how I adhere this to the card because whatever adhesive I use, it's going to show on the back. So my first one, I just used a few glue dots across the bottom. I did not measure. I just kind of lined it up and eyeballed it so that I would have that green area on my card behind it. And then used a couple glue dots. Didn't trim this yet. Oops, missed you. This one I'm going to line up inside of my stitching. I can manage it. get any glue? Oh my goodness, I only have one. Where are my glue dots? Come on here. I feel like I am just not organized here today. And I thought I was doing so well. I had everything all planned over here in the little plastic container, and goodness. Alright, that's better. I may have to add one more. Get my snips. And just, I guess, over a little more. And gave my little lamb some grassy area to sit in. Cut that off. And it's not on there, or do I need another glue dot? Well, it's there. Might as well use it. And that little lamb here that I took out. Well, I have another one. I don't know where he went either now. Goodness. Thinking that I have a gremlin or something here. Oh, look at this little chick too. Isn't he cute? But I really do want to do the lamb. Oh, there's my first one. It's stuck to a flower on Mother Goose. Put her off to the side. So I have two over there. And for this card, I just used the Happy Easter from the Welcome Easter stamp set. And I'm going to be smart about it this time. And I didn't have a color already picked out, but I think we'll use some Balmy Blue. Light makes a glare. Let my ink set there for a minute. And also in this set is a little bumblebee. I want that in black. And Memento. And I did use my Gingham Melody, and even though it was so tiny you can hardly see, I had a little bitty yellow to him. And then we did use, again, that Copic, or the Spectrum marker. And I added a little bit of shading again so that well, it was a bunny the first time, but I want my sheep to be white. Guess I haven't got that far ahead. Sheep's faces are usually black, aren't they? Oh no, I want to do black. I'll just darken into this gray. And I lighten up around the... And I'm only concerned about that because I stamped this in... which gray did I use? Gray granite. So it's a little light. I'm afraid that if I fill in his face with black, I might not be able to see the features anymore. So let's see here. Let's see what we can come up with real quick, huh? My blender. Let's use the fine tip here. Turn that gray out a little bit. And I think, well, sheep, you know what, I think I have a little sheep wolf in there now. I have to look at him. He had black ears too. So let's use see what light basic black. That's kind of like a really dark gray. That might work. So we'll do those little feet in this light basic black. See, that kind of covers up all of the stamped lines, and you can't even see those on his hooves. I don't want to cover his face up like that. Well, yes, on my woolly sheep that I have, I'll use as a reference. Isn't it adorable? That's from my son and daughter-in-law. All felted wool. But his ears are black, so she'll be happy to know that I used him as a reference guide. So let's give him some dark gray ears. Or I guess in this case, light basic black ears. And his nose. Leave the inside of the ear, add a little pink to that for some color. And I think I'll give him a blue bow since I'm going to use, well, again, shame, since we're going to use the balmy blue Gingham and card base. And my computer sounds like it's struggling along there. a little bit of pink in his ear. There's a little bit of, summer area. White Rococo Rose. This is one of the colors that'll be going away. I meant to look that up. Rococo Rose, Seaside Spray. I can't remember the other couple colors offhand. I miss it when those colors get, when their time has come. I found a piece of, I just lighten that up a little bit with the color lifter. The one day that, I think it might have been when I was doing the shaper card, I found a piece of an old lemon lime twist. Boy, I like that color. I miss it. Oh Lord, where did I put my trimmer? Okay. I need to score my card base here. I'm scoring that at 4 1/4. 1.5, and then I'll burnish it with my bone folder. Give it a nice edge. And my gingham paper. I still have some other different ginghams that came in several different in colors over the years. Alright, let's put this onto our card base. And I think I kept him pretty flat because I added flowers. I had to put dimensionals behind my sheet. And in the first card, my bunny. And I tuck him in the grass. And where did I put that little bowl of flowers that I just cut out everywhere? And then using some mini dimensionals, I just started to add different flowers. And when I was, if you watched when we did the shaker card, I had mentioned that I cut out all of these little flowers and I kept the dots on the inside. I did end up using some of those on these flowers. And I'll show you what I did here real quick too with these tulips because I don't want them to look like they're floating in the air. I just used a Stampin' Right marker. And again, it has a narrow end and a wide end for a bullet tip and a brush point. And I used my little handy dandy ruler and just drew a couple of stems. And you want to be careful because since I'm doing this on vellum, and you may not be, but on vellum, this ink isn't going to dry in a split second. We need to give it a minute. And added a few leaves. And I just set it aside to dry. And I think I'll add a couple more of these little easy white flowers too. I even think I'm going to put, how are you going to put any of this here? Fix that right now. So you can dress up your card any way you like. I'm just going to add a few more flowers to this. But I won't hold you up any longer. So here are our cards from today. And I will add a completed picture after I finish adding my flowers to the little lamb. I appreciate that you spent some time with me this morning and put up with my audio problems there at the beginning. I'm sorry that delayed everything a little bit, but glad that we got to get a couple of cards made. You enjoy the rest of your day. Tune in on the 25th for some Christmas cards, or on YouTube Friday for 15-minute card Friday. And if you can't join then, hopefully we'll see you back here next Monday. So have a great day, everybody.